Hello everybody and welcome to another video, and yes, it is Ginger here and we are going to do a review today of some really interesting pastels. I'm pretty sure everyone has heard of the OHUHU craze, which is basically one of China's big companies making knockoff products of pretty much every base art material supply product that you can think of. I believe it started with alcohol markers and it has gone off on one from there. And they finally, a couple of months ago, got round to doing soft pastels. And look what I have. I actually have a box of these, spent with my own money on Amazon. This cost me round about £18.50-ish with free delivery. I'll put the dollars down below, but this is what we are going to be reviewing today, and I'll let you come along and see how it is. The first thing we are going to be doing is we're going to be swatching, and then I will do just a small little piece just so that I can get a feel of what these are actually like when working with, and I will be using them to do a wet underpainting, so we'll see how they hold up with water as well. So let me switch to my top-down camera so you can see what I see as I'm working on these. And please, if you have any questions about these pastels or any questions in general, please leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, I really hope that you enjoy this video, and remember to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell if you want notifications for my next video. Right, so let's get started. Right. As you can see, we have here the OHUHU 72 pack soft pastel. This is the box it came in. All I've done is taken the cellophane off. So as you can see, this is the front. Fade resistant, excellent colour, smooth touch, non-toxic, easy to draw. Fit for people age 14 plus. Are we all 14 plus out there? I hope so. Let's turn her over. And on the back, it shows the colours. It shows the Amazon sticker. And it says, it is recommended to use fixing fluid for long-term preservation after painting. Made of non-toxic materials, pigment binder, calcium carbonate. These soft pastels comply with some standard. However, they should avoid being swollen by kids. Fair enough. The soft pastel set is recommended for people age over 14, and a model number, which for those model number buffs, it is Y30-80700-39 and conforms to the ASTM D-4236 standard. So that's what we've got. Let's get this box open. So got a nice lifty lid box. I like that. Makes things easy to get into. Shove the lid over there. Right, so in the box we have some bits and pieces. So we have a soft pastel set user manual. In here is the colour list for all 72, and then we also have some soft pastel set user manual. Now, I have never seen a user manual for soft pastels before, but for those that are beginners, some of the stuff in here is quite handy. I won't go through, but I might take some photos and create a separate slideshow video in shorts for those that want to see what goes into a soft pastel user manual. So we have blending, graduation between colours, different types of tools, some tips, and then it has the instructions again in what looks like German. Jeu de pastels du OHUHU, manual d'utilisation, that's clearly French, and I think we also have it in Italian. No, not Italian, Spanish. So that's the instruction manual. Good to know, good to have. Then we have a little baggie. We love a little baggie, clear cellophane bag. And in here we have some sample papers for you to play with, which is really nice because a lot of times when you're buying a set of pastels, obviously for those of us that are professional or buying things like packs of Unison or Terry Ludwig's or Diane Townsend's, you're not going to get a pack of pastel paper with them because they expect you to be experts already considering the price. However, for a beginner set like this and for the price of it, it's nice that they've given you something that you can use to try it out on. You can see this is textured paper. this looks like ingress by the looks of this. It's smooth on one side and kind of honeycomb style texture on this side. So, and there's 3 pieces of this, yeah, 3 pieces of the cream. It's not white, it is cream. And we've got 3 pieces of the black. The black is card, not paper. That's more like the ingress paper. This is thicker. And this is, how do you describe this? This is more like the Murano paper, but thicker. So more like ingress card or Murano card. So it's nice that they've given you a dark and a light to play with. We will not be testing these out on this. I will not be swatching it out on this. I have got some Daler-Rowney Murano paper here, both a light and a dark in warm tones, which is what I use the most of, just because it's a nice cheap paper and really handy to use. For those that want to get pads, the pads are A3. I actually don't know, because oh no, there they are. They're 16 by 12 inches, 160 grams. That's their pad there. So this is what we're using, some Murano paper. And I also have a pad of ingress as well. These are relatively cheap, so they're good for beginners. These are not sanded papers. Sanded papers are definitely more expensive. So this is what we've got. We've got a box and we've got these very cute little handles. So the first thing we're going to do is we'll take the top foam off and see what we've got. And you can see here we've got our first bank of pastels. Yep. Yellows, oranges, reds, pinks, purples, blues and greens. And this is in a tray inset in the box. As you can see, let's pull one of these out. These are rectangular, so they're similar shape to like Blue Earth, Earthberry pastels, long rectangle, but they're longer, long rectangular sticks. Each one has a silly wrapper on it, of which I will probably spend many hours pulling those off. And each one has a number on the wrapper, which means you promptly forget which colours are which, but that doesn't matter. I don't make any difference when it comes to colours and numbers. But it's nice to see you've got a decent size pastel, so you've got a lot to work with. And at 72 in here, you've got plenty to work with. So we're going to lift this tray out. Come on, tray. It is a bit bendy, so there's a tray. I'm just going to pop this to this side of me, on top of the stupid user manual. We'll remove that. Come here. Off you go. Right. So there's one tray. And then you've got another foam pad, which will pop there. And then you've got our darker colours and our more earth tone colours. It's good to see we've got more of the earthy yellows and oranges. I really like them. I've got a limited number of oranges and I want more anyway. Obviously, we'll see how these go as pastels work, but usually I can make most things work. So I've got a lot more of the earth tone colours in here. We've also got a few nice darks. So we've got some nice dark browns. We've obviously got a black, so that's a burnt umber. We've got a red oxide. We've got a Prussian grey. We have a Prussian blue. And we have an Aegean, which is a nice dark teal colour. And we have an olive drab, which is a nice dark green. So we've got some good colours, really, considering for a starter set. We also have a number of neons. Oh, are you going to let me take you out of the box? I'm going to fight with this to get it out now. There we go. That's better. Right, and unusually we do have some neons. I'm just going to bring this back a second. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 neons in here. Neon yellow, orange, pink and green. I have never really used or seen neon pastels before. I can only really class them as slightly gimmicky because realistically they're just saturated colours, and if I compare them to the rest of the pastels, yes, they are slightly brighter but no more other than in saturation. So I'm not really going to judge them as neons, but they provide some fun colours. So right. So I'm going to start with the first tray. We're going to swatch it on both the dark and the light colour so you can see how translucent they are. And that's what's really important, is how do they lay down, how much pigment is actually in them, and how much of the paper underneath can we actually see. So we are going to start. I'm probably going to speed this bit up because this is going to be really boring for most of you. It's just going to be interesting to see the colours on the paper. But other than that, this is probably going to be highly boring, so I'm going to entertain you with some music, and I'm just going to swatch everything. But I'll speed it up. Right, so swatching is done. As you can see, I've done the 4 neon colours separately at the bottom. So let's let you guys have a bit of a closer look. Come on, paper, behave. There we go. I'll show you the other one. Right, so swatch is done. Now supposedly with neon colours, they are supposed to glow or fluoresce under UV light. Obviously it's daylight and I have 2 very big LED floodlights on, but I do have a blue light torch, so shall we see? Because supposedly, being neons, these should also glow under UV light. So, so this is my Lepro UK heavy duty LED torch, as you can see. So let's put these 2 together. And we're going to see, will they glow? What do we think, people? So there's my blue light. You can just see that. Now watch what happens. Oh, I don't know how much of that you guys can see, but 2 of their colours are absolutely glowing. So if I take the light off, and that's them, see how much they glow? That's super reflective of the UV light. This one does a little bit, this one does not at all. But these 2, the green and the pink, are really, really bright. This isn't a very powerful torch. It's got not a lot of charge on it at the moment. So this is, yeah, and in full daylight, I suspect that if I could turn all the lights off, shut the blinds, the shutters and everything else and make it dark, then yeah, but that is pretty cool. Not particularly useful for a pastelist, but yeah, it's pretty cool. So I will give it to them. 2 of the 4 neons do glow under UV, blue light, black light, whatever you want to call it. So that's pretty fun. Right, so the next challenge is the obvious one. Let's do a painting, shall we? We have here a piece of the Ingress paper, which came with the OHUHU Pastels. So I'm going to tape this down. I don't want to do anything majorly complicated, but I also do want to do this as a square. So do I want to, trusty scissors, we're going to trim this down a minute to a little square. that off to one side, chuck the scissors off to one side. Right, where should we put you? Let's put you here. There. So we're just going to do this as if I would do any normal painting, which is tape down the piece to reduce warping because we're going to be using water. This is ingress paper, so I know that it's going to be able to take the water and that in the process it will warp, but I'm less worried about that. So I want a neat little border. I'll have to see if I can remind myself where I've thrown my heat gun, because I probably will want that to help take the tape off, because it will not come off this paper without a fight. And for those that use painter's tape, masking tape, washi tape, you'll know that you don't always win the argument between taking the tape off and taking the tape off with half the paper attached. So yeah, which is why I always use a heat gun, so that I don't damage my paper and it doesn't create a running rip, which then tears and rips into the part that you've painted on, because it can be absolutely heartbreaking when you've done all that work and it's ruined by a runner of tape. Right, ta-da, we now have a square. So we're going to just do my standard practice. I have paintbrush, I have a cup of water. So let's start with an undercoat. Now, if you've seen from the swatch, there isn't really a lot of dark ducks in this set, which is a little disappointing. You know, you have a lot of really beautiful colours in this set, but not a lot of ducks. So we'll do what we can with the ducks we have. A few of the nice darks we did pick out was the burnt umber, and as predicted, our aquamarine, our Prussian grey, our Aegean. So they're all good. One thing I will say, I should really leave this to the end and actually give my review properly, but the black was pointless. It has no depth to it whatsoever. It might as well just be a dark grey. So I would just bear that in mind. So first of all, let us go with this one, which is a burnt umber. So we're going to do our classic tree line up here. I'm going to leave the wrappers on for the time being. I'm not too fussed by that. So there's a nice classic tree line. And we want some minor ducks. I'm going to kind of frame flowers going in the middle here. So we're going to do our ducks down here and coming up. Just scrubbing. Right, so there is one. This one, which is our, this is our dark grey-green, which is aquamarine, a dark aquamarine. It's also quite a nice cool tone. So I'm going to do some of that back here and a little bit to the sides here. Now, what kind of colour do I want underneath this? Should we do something warmish? Warmish, we'll do this. This is a nice kind of, what colour is it? Raw sienna. It's more like a gold, but yeah. It's kind of a nice mid-tone. If anyone wonders how my hands are at a weird angle for this, first of all, I'm painting flat, not on my easel, which is what I usually prefer. And also I've got the camera sitting in front of me and above me, rather than away from me and coming back towards me, just because I'm sitting in a weird place today. So right, let us see how this holds up with water. This could be hilarious. This could separate, it could just not spread, it could granulate. Take your pick. Now, the interesting thing is when you add water to pastel, obviously you're effectively making watercolor paint, but it lifts the pigment and the pigment then binds with the water. Now, it's usually a really good way of seeing how much pigment is actually in a pastel, because chalk itself, which can be used as a white and as a filler in cheap pastels, dissolves. So you're sometimes left with either a white residue on the surface or your colours darker than you intended them to be. I think in this case, they are going darker, which is actually nice because, like I said, there isn't a lot of darks in this pack. And actually, if you want to pull out your darks by doing it within your underpainting, then you'll be fine. And that's quite nice. What I am finding is this paper, it's pretty cheap, is bobbling just with me brushing water onto it. So it's not particularly high quality paper, but you know, it is a starter pack, so that is to be expected. But at the end of the day, if you notice, despite that, it is accepting the water, and the pastel is accepting water as well. I know everything looks very brown at the moment. We will sort that, don't worry. So here is our nice sienna, lovely gold tone, nice warm tone going on. I know I'm really croaky at the moment. My voice has been like this for a couple of days. Hopefully it'll pass soon. I'm just going to add a tiny bit of this to the sky, just because I want to add a bit of a warm tone to that sky. Right, let's let that dry. And then we will work over the top of it. This is mostly dry, slightly damp on the sky, and then all the bits that I'm brushing off that you can see along here are bits of paper from the water and paintbrush. And it is a pretty soft paintbrush, so yeah, that just shows you the quality of the paper they've put in the pack. But like I said, this is a beginner's pack, so it's perfectly fine, and as you've seen, I don't think that's really going to affect anything we're going to do. So let us, now that we've got our base painting and our underpainting, right, we'll get on. And as usual, always love to do the sky. And there are some really nice blues in here, but one of the things you will note is there is no light tones. There are some in the yellows, but there are none in the blues. So the lightest blue I've got, let's have a look. Lightest blue I've got is sky blue or cornflower. Now sky blue's got yellow in and cornflower has got more of a red in it. I have a neutral grey as well, so I think what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to start with a neutral grey, which is our next lightest colour in the box by far. I do wonder if the sand might be slightly lighter, but I'm not putting yellow in the sky. So here is our light grey, and we're going to do this here. And then we will add some white, and we will add some of our sky blue, and we will see what we get. Remember, this is non-sanded paper, so it will not take loads of layers. And this isn't, you know, isn't supposed to be a masterpiece. It's just playing to see how good these are, what you can get from them. So I'm just smoothing them out with my finger. They smooth pretty well. They are pretty translucent though. Let's add our white. And then we will grab our sky blue. Yeah, I was going to say this is going to be quite saturated compared to the other colours, but I'm hoping that with the help of the grey and the white we'll be able to bring that down a wee bit. So let's see how that blends. Now you can see where when I used the water it got a bit splotchy because it granulated, and you can see that on the paper. Now that's partly to do with the paper, not the pastels, but you can see it through the pastels, just kind of what I was expecting. So I'm going to add some more of the grey, just to lighten that up. And the white. Right, I think that's probably the best I'm going to get from the sky. I don't need over here for the minute. So let's see what we can do with our trees. So I want the light coming obviously from behind, so it will be catching fronts. So I'm just going to reinforce where these are. And obviously I'm going to put some flowers in, so I want to get some of that in beforehand. So I want to mark out where these are. So this is old mauve, so it's a blue, dark blue red. So actually I want one there. I have no idea what flowers I'm doing. Let's do some, I don't know, tulip like flowers I'll do. One there. And then one up here. It's just because I want them breaking this tree line. So in order to do that, I need to be able to put some of them in first. Otherwise, because there's no proper tooth to this paper, I won't be able to get the layers down. Right, okay, well that's fine. I love the fact you can stack these. Look, I'm just creating little stacks. I think I could create little pyramids of these. Okay, so let's go back to our trees and we'll add some of this blue-green in on our lighter bits. We want the trees to be in the distance, so. So we do want them slightly cooler. Okay, pop you there. Do you want to actually bring some of this in as our background colour? So, but we're going to bring all this down, so I'm going to use the pastel in that direction. I'm going to bring our dark back in, down here. Right. A dark warmish green. This is olive, so this is a slightly warmer green and a more neutral green. So we want to bring this in. Okay, now what do we want to get in next? Do you want to maybe continue getting some of these flower points in? Just marking where I want some of the background ones to be. Right, need to work on more of the grass. Obviously we're going to go upper colour to fern green. That's where we start bringing more of our yellows in. I do want to add some other interesting colours just to add interest to the grass. Usually I add oranges or purples, so we'll see what we fancy. Right. Maybe I do want to go for an orange. We've got nice terracotta, which is more, I would say terracotta should be more orange than yellow, but this is more yellow. So I would say it's more like a dun colour. But it's going to add some nice interest here and there. So smooth a little bit of that in. Okay, right. Kind of getting there so far. Now we need to start getting some lighter colours and tones in. So this is where we start bringing the grass colours up. And flowers, do we want to bring the flower levels up? first, or do we want to bring the grass? Let's go for one more grass colour first, I think. Just because I feel like I need a bit more. Bit more from this grass. Right, it's a little better. I'm considering whether or not I just add some of this. Trees, just where the light is. Okay, let's do the flowers. So we've got the dark mauve down. So now I want a kind of medium colour. And I'm heading towards purple and then with a warmer pink tone over the top. Just because I want the colour tone. So we want purple at the bottom. This just helps give tonality to the flowers because, like most flowers, nothing's ever going to be just one colour. You might have painted it like that when you were in primary school, but that is definitely not how flowers are. So, tough, I'm afraid, people. Now, I often add another flower in, something a little different as well, and I'm quite tempted to do that, but it would need to be something either a completely different colour or something that brings the piece together. Now, I'm quite tempted by the cornflower or the periwinkle and bring a nice blue in. So let's do... Let's do the navy blue and then do the periwinkle cornflower over the top. So I just want these as little, almost like forget-me-nots. They kind of grow in clumps, so. Just like that. And then let's do the cornflower over the top. This should produce a really nice bright blue. And it does, which is just what we want. It is struggling a little bit because obviously we literally have no tooth whatsoever. But actually, when you think about it, this is coping pretty admirably considering. And I'm not exactly being forgiving doing this. I'm being fairly punishing with the paper and the pastels. Just doing some faint ones here and there. will do. Right, let's get on with our flowers. So we want something a bit warmer. This is a rose red. You can see how bright this could be. So we're doing some bright ones and some dull ones, which are in the shadow. And then we're just filling in where some of the smaller ones are in the distance. And do I want to go brighter still? Yeah, absolutely, why not? In fact, shall we bring out the neon? Let's bring out the neon. This will be fun. It's not really as pink as these, but this should be interesting. Oh yeah, well, that's definitely definitely neon. Well, it's not neon, but it is neon, but it isn't neon. It's definitely bright. Oh, wow. There we go. This one was broken, but couldn't see it because of that. And it's just kind of crumbled onto the page. But you can see there the makeup of it. Now, most pastels, when you break them, break smooth. And you can see how bobbly the inside of this is. Now, that says to me that there's air pockets throughout the making of this, because it's pieces kind of pushed together, which means it isn't ground as fine as some of our regular pastels like Sennelier and Unison, which is probably why it was breaking in chunks like that. And if I turn this over, you can see the God, look, it's breaking everywhere. You can see the crack through the middle. Now, to be fair, quite a few different pastel makes actually do that, not just this one. Sometimes just a bad batch, an issue in the manufacturing process. It doesn't necessarily have to be with the brand that there's an issue. It just sometimes can be that there's a flaw with the pigment. And the more I push down on it, the more crumbly it's making it, but never mind. It's fine, as long as some of these flowers get what I need. Now, it could also be because they've obviously had to add a neon, the neon part to this, and sometimes when you add things that aren't necessarily a pigment, like a mica powder, which glows, a phosphorescent powder, then it doesn't always bind as well as just natural pigment and binder, and that happens sometimes. So we're just going to add lighter bits here and there. Just because it's fun. Right, so there's that one. Now I need to get some stalkage in, and I need to get some rest of the greens in. This is a blue green, so I'm just going to add this in as some grass and some leaves. I don't want to do too much of it because that's not what we're here for. This corner's annoying me. Okay, that's a little better. Let's go for our lighter green. We want to do this one to get stalks in for these. Okay, it's a bit better with the grass. I feel like I want to get some, not that one, this one. Yeah, I think we're pretty much at the limit for the paper, which is kind of what I was expecting, but despite that, we've actually been able to get some really good layering down, good colours down, without too many problems. So that's our white, that's our white, that's our grey. I do love this blue, just wish it was a little bit more vibrant, but I think that's just because I'm asking too much of the paper, but still. Still, fine. What's that? That's that one, that one. Oh, sorry, making you bounce. Trying not to knock the camera. Fun part, trying to remember where all these came from. And of course our somewhat shattered neon. Give me a neon, let's see. Can we fit you back in there? We can. And pop you back in there. Right, let me see. Will this come off easily? Well, it seems to be coming off okay-ish. I don't pull too hard, it seems. It's only taking off a little bit of the paper. Right, there's one. Do it at this end. Well, that wasn't too bad. It has taken some of the paper off, but it hasn't run into the painting. So it just saves me having to get the heat gun out. Right, so here is our little painting. And what do we think of these pastels? Well, what I can say is that as a beginner set, and for the price they currently are, these are actually really good. They are almost as soft as Blue Earth, so they are about as soft as Unison, if not more, which does mean that as a beginner you could have the tendency to be layering too much pastel down, especially with sanded paper, because it will eat through these within minutes if you're not careful. They do also feel slightly waxy, and they have a very, very slight oily shine to them, which makes me think there's something else in here as well as the binder, though it doesn't say on the packet. So there is definitely something slightly waxy to them. They are very, very soft, which is great. They do seem to layer okay over the top of each other, which is also good. And they do break down and mix well with water for underpainting. So all in all, if you are a beginner pastelist or even an intermediate, you know, looking for a good set of pastels to use for studies or practice pieces, these are actually really, really good. And as usual, OHUHU have pulled quite a few kittens out of the bag to be able to make something that's not perfect and certainly not in the level of the professional realm, but actually is a really usable product for most pastelists wanting to get started or intermediate to professional looking for something that is either good as a travel set or for just loads of practice pieces. The only thing I find disappointing is, as you saw, the internal construction indicates that the fineness of the pigment isn't great. It's a wee bit lumpy, which means that there is air pockets, which means these may have the tendency to crumble when you're applying pastel to the paper with any pressure, or just break like the neon pink did just randomly. Now that does happen in normal pastels and you can get defects, but this seems to be inherent in the manufacture of how these are made, which means that they may have a tendency to break more often. However, for what they are very good. The colour range for the 72 box, and they may do a smaller one, I didn't look, but I thought 72 for 18 quid was pretty good, so I thought we'll go with it. So the colour range is actually really good. You've got enough colours there that if you wanted to do landscapes, you've got your earthy tones, you've got your bluer tones for mountains and tree lines, your earthy ground tones, you've got plenty of greens as well. So you've got enough there to go on for landscaping. If you're going to do more florals, yes, you've got enough there for that. If you're doing portraiture, yeah, you have some skin tones in here, some colours that are good for skin tones, but probably not enough for what you're looking for. The one thing I found disappointing with the colour range with the set is the comment I made earlier, is there is not a lot of darks. Now, some of these are, and as you've seen, I've been able to use as darks, but I have darker than that in the sets, and I specifically go out and buy even individual pastels when I'm buying darker tones of blue-green, burnt umber. Madder is another really good dark, rich red that's like, it just looks like you've just dug it up from the ground. They're really, really intense darks. The black, which is what I'm holding here, to be honest, is pretty pathetic as a dark and is definitely more of a dark grey I mean, it will have its place, but it wouldn't be usable as a dark. I think that's the only thing really lacking from the set, and it's a shame because if there were decent darks in here, then it would be, yeah, it would be an absolute really excellent set for anybody. I suspect that that's down to cost, and I suspect that's down to the chalk they use as a filler, so which will reduce the saturation of the darker colours. So these guys, I like them. I think they're an absolute bargain. I think they're a brilliant set. You know, thumbs up, yay, thumbs up to OHUHU for producing another great beginner level, entry level set of art supplies. And yeah, hopefully you guys, if you get a chance to buy any of these, you get a chance to use them, leave a comment below. I'd love to know what you think if you have tried them, or even let me know if you found this helpful. Other than that, hopefully you've enjoyed this piece, and I will see you all soon for another pastel video. Ta-ta for now.